much as 1.7 million gallons a day without triggering the real-time leak detection system. And the State Department cannot do a full analysis of the contents in the pipeline. Even though they say this pipeline will present minimal impact to the environment, they don't know that. They don't have a full study to do that due to proprietary information. I'm the founder of Stop Tar Sands Oil Pipelines, and together with so many people in this group, we're all working together to fight this pipeline. I'd like to pass the microphone off to the next person.
I'm Uris Robertson. I'm a high school teacher, minister, Church of Christ minister also. Several of us got together recently after we looked at the seriousness of what's going on with tar sand. And we formulated a 391. For those that are not familiar with it, in 1965, the government made it possible for an organization to be formulated that would be able to sit down at the table with organizations, with the government, whatever entity, to make sure that whatever is going on in that particular area is protected by the government as well as for the people that live in that particular area. We formulated this to make sure that the questions that we have can be answered. There are so many questions as to what is in tar sand. There are questions about what will happen if there is a spill, the volume of the spill. And from all the indications and all the information that we have, it seems to be very dangerous. As I look back in reflection on some of the things that have happened over the years, I thought about Agent Orange as they dropped it in Vietnam, not knowing the consequences of what would happen. But eventually we saw the results as I went to a funeral of one of the family members, the congregation that I attend, one of the family members, and seeing the consequences of this. So when we look at tar sands and we look at what is going on, we're looking at all of you looking at the possibilities of setting up a 391 likewise, because we can stand together and do something in reference to slowing down and or possibly stopping this project. I look at the tremendous amount of money that we're in trouble with in the United States. We are $14 trillion in debt. In Texas, we are $27 billion in debt. That's over $1,000 per person if all of us paid our bill. Close to $45,000 to $46,000 per person if we paid the bill as Americans of the 300+ million people that are here. This project, and as I look at it, this project could possibly, if this spillage would occur, as in Kalamazoo to a greater extent, we could have $1 billion mess that we would have to clean up. So please let us look together and work together and find ways for our young people to make sure that we leave them a place in society where they can have and enjoy as we have enjoyed. But at the rate we're going, the things that we are doing in this society, the lackadaisical attitudes that we have, the lack of concern, the complacency, the rich trying and us sitting back and letting it happen, it's time for us to stand up and make sure that we do what needs to be done to help to make sure that all is done properly and according to what needs to be done. Thank you.
Now, so I'm going to try to hurry. Well, what happened is I am part of a sand tar oil spill, and I have hundreds upon hundreds of sick people in my area. That Canadian company told us to bury oil, plant grass over the oil, and when I went to the EPA, they didn't do nothing. When I went to the press, I got fired the next day. I have a whistleblower lawsuit, and the reason why is because I'm going to have them testify under oath that they covered up oil. I will not take any amount of money. I am a union worker, and I will not work for a sand tar pipeline. I will stay unemployed. And I also am a Navy veteran with the Bronze Star. This is wrong what they're doing. Sand tar oil is the worst oil known to mankind. We cannot allow it. Thank you.
Deborah Medina, working on private property and state sovereignty issues in the state of Texas, and as become familiar with this project see many shades of the Trans-Texas Corridor all over again.
Yeah.
We're particularly here today to raise the question about eminent domain and the ability of a foreign company to come in and use the big club of eminent domain to take land from Texas landowners. We have a recent Supreme Court case in Texas just rendered on August the 26th of this year that says simply, just because you check a box on a Railroad Commission application that says you're a common carrier doesn't mean you're a common carrier in Texas. Common carriers in Texas, perhaps wrongfully so, but common carriers in Texas are granted the right of the power of eminent domain. And so this company is maintaining that it is a common carrier. The Denbury Green recent Supreme Court decision says just because you say you are doesn't make it so. This company has done little to demonstrate that it is laying a pipeline for public use. It is laying a pipeline for its own private interest. And private business do business with willing consumers and willing landowners. And so we are here to raise questions about the use of eminent domain. Terry Hall is also here today, and she has been an integral part of the battle against the Trans-Texas Corridor, and I know she has comments along a similar vein. Terry?
My name's Terry Hall, and I'm the founder and director of Texas Turf, and our group has been at the forefront of putting a stop to the Trans-Texas Corridor in our state. We are, we're not fooled by the fact that we had the Trans-Texas Corridor officially repealed from the statute. It took effect in June 17th of this year. Because the Keystone XL pipeline is part and parcel, and the tar sands oil pipelines are part and parcel of the Trans-Texas Corridor. I actually have a report here, and I will get you a press release with active links so you can link to the PDF of it. And it was done by Cambridge Systematics for the Texas Department of Transportation in 2008, called the Great Plains International Trade Corridor Assessment. They actually call this one of the NAFTA highways and trading corridors. It actually explains that one of the major emerging oil extraction areas of the world is the tar sands area in northeastern Alberta, Canada. The report also states that oil and gas pipelines are part of this trade corridor, and that truck transportation of these fuels from the Port Arthur area back out to the rest of the really not just the nation but the world is expected to increase 329% in 2035. Oil exploration and extraction activities could increase truck traffic in the corridor as oil pipelines transporting oil from Canada to points south for refining reach their capacity. You know, the people of Texas have been crystal clear on this issue. We do not want any form of the Trans-Texas Corridor in our state, or eminent domain for private gain, nor will they tolerate these foreign companies who are masquerading as common carriers to get eminent domain authority when in fact their pipelines are for a private purpose, not a legitimate public use. We have saw a terrible bill passed in the legislative session, SB 18, the eminent domain bill. They're out there telling everybody that they've got eminent domain protection from eminent domain for private gain, when in fact they allowed this type of eminent domain for private gain to continue in our state. And this is a huge problem. And they do it in the name of a public use like a road, or in this case of a pipeline. And we don't buy the fact that TransCanada is actually a common carrier legitimately, and this it's going to be challenged, I can guarantee you, and it's going to be through that 391 commission. TURF has worked with the grassroots all up and down this state for both of the first two Trans-Texas Corridor routes that were identified, Trans-Texas Corridor 35 and 69. And there were 9 commissions formed all around the state, and it was those commissions that ultimately put a stop to and forced Rick Perry to pull the plug on the Trans-Texas Corridor. It can and it will work, and this is what can stop the Keystone Pipeline. And we're here today to not only have our concerns and questions raised, but those questions are going to be answered through the legal authority of a 391 commission. And I commend these folks for actually getting that done, because that's what can stop this pipeline. And I want to just leave you with this. If this company, TransCanada, wants to build a pipeline, it must do so without the use of eminent domain. And TransCanada needs to pay willing selling landowners a price they're willing to sell for if they want to come after Texas property. Don't mess with Texas. And by the way, the corridor that I'm referring to, one of the first 4 original corridors of the Trans-Texas Corridor was Ports to Plains, and I actually have a map here that shows the Ports to Plains Trans-Texas Corridor that I was referring to in this report that involves the tar sands oil and its shipment both into our state through pipelines and then out of our state through trucking, and what that's going to do to our road system and what we Texas taxpayers are going to have to pay for. And TransCanada has already admitted this oil may not even stay here in our country to benefit any of us. So with that.
Good morning. My name is Susana Almanza, and I'm with Poder, People Organized in Defense of Earth and Her Resources, and we're also a member of the Indigenous Environmental Network. I'm here today as I take this with a place and as a woman to stand with Mother Earth against the corporate male-dominated greed. The Keystone Pipeline is planned to cross America and the Indian country and the massive Agales aquifer. And what we see today is already what's happening with the dirty tar sands mining operation is destroying the homeland of the First Nations people in Alberta. And I'm here to ask and to tell President Obama to deny the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. Thank you.
Yes.
My name is Amanda Yaira Robinson. I'm coordinator of Texas Interfaith Power and Light, the environmental program of Texas Impact. Texas faith leaders of different religious traditions stand united in opposition to the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline on moral grounds. Even though we come from different religious traditions, sometimes pray in different languages, and observe different holidays, we share a concern for people and for the earth. We also share an understanding that our lives are bound up with each other's lives, that we are part of an interconnected web of life, and that our actions have consequences. We are told that building this pipeline will create new jobs, but it will also create new problems. Harming Indigenous peoples in Canada, increasing air pollution in Houston, creating the risk of oil spills in fragile aquifers, and making global warming even more severe. We find this scenario morally unacceptable. Today we have prayed, and soon we will testify. Rather than continue our destructive dependence on oil, let us find a way forward that protects the health of all people and the planet that we share. The Keystone XL is not the way. Thank you.
My name is Neil Carmen. I'm the Clean Air Program Director for the Sierra Club in Texas. I used to inspect refineries. Texas refineries will be receiving the tar sands crude oil, and many of these refinery communities are sacrifice zones where there's high levels of benzene, toxic soot, metals, sulfur dioxides, hydrogen sulfide, and other toxic air pollutants. These people already suffer elevated rates of cancers, birth defects, premature mortalities, respiratory problems, and many kids stay home sick because they can't go to school due to the high amount of air pollution. So the toxic tar sands is a very dirty crude oil that will increase the pollution from these refineries. It will add to the burden of these sacrifice zones in Port Arthur and Houston and Texas City. If you go there, it's very difficult to stay there for very long because the air is so bad. And so we cannot allow this to happen because there's already too high of a burden on these low-income, primarily people of color communities along the Texas Gulf Coast. No more toxic sacrifice zones from the tar sands crude oil. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Julia Trigg Crawford. I'm a landowner in Lamar County, Texas on the Red River, and TransCanada wants to come across my land. They not only want to come across my land, they want to horizontally drill under the water source through which I irrigate my land. The kicker to this is the pasture in which they want to come up in has been certified as full of Caddo Indian artifacts. On my land is one of the largest Caddo Indian digs of this century. And just yesterday, I had it resurveyed, and guess what? What my archaeologists found is in direct opposition to what TransCanada's archaeologists found. They will now probably extend the outer boundary of that Caddo dig, and we're hopeful that TransCanada will sit up and take notice. It is not only the indigenous peoples of Canada who are at risk, but those in Oklahoma and Texas as well. I am of Choctaw heritage, and I stand on this side of the border saying we should stop it. Thank you.
Hello, what time is it? Afternoon? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Hoshing, and I'm from McAllen, Texas. I'm here in support for all those against the pipeline. I'm Hispanic and have grown up in border towns where I have witnessed. Sorry.
You might have to shake it. It's very close.
Hello? Yeah.
Speak.
Talk loud. Can I just not use
Yeah. Yeah, just talk loud.
I spoke at Port Arthur, so.
She just told me so.
I'm just not going to use the microphone.
Yeah.
I have a loud voice.
Awesome.
Okay. I'm Hispanic and have lived in border towns my whole life, where I've witnessed firsthand many neighbors and family members living way below poverty line, living paycheck to paycheck, feeding their families, and having trouble clothing them. Living in frontline communities, especially in areas where old refineries only made living in poverty worse. 56% of the people living in Houston have cancer, and there has been an increase of asthma and respiratory problems. These are not just statistics you can just shelve away. These statistics are about people whom I care about. My brother, who had his first asthma attack when he visited Houston when he was 6 years old. And all my close friends and family living in the greater Houston-Port Arthur area, whom already felt the environmental impact of oil. This is why, as a childhood immigrant and a child of Mother Earth, we must say no to the Keystone XL pipeline and yes to clean energy and a healthy future. Thank you.
Okay, all right, folks. Thank you all so much for coming out today. I just want to acknowledge that today we have property rights activists, we have landowners, we have environmentalists, we have students, we have whistleblowers, we have people from all walks of life here today to oppose the Keystone XL pipeline.